Show. I am so glad to have you, whether you're listening on your radio, streaming the show online at extrasports1300.com, or you've downloaded the new Extra Sports 1300 app, sponsored by Diversus Health, mental health, and well-being for all. Normally, this will be the time where I say I have a veritable cornucopia of sports topics for you on today's show, but that would kind of be a lie today. Now, a lot of different directions that we will go during this show, with your help, I hope, at 719-247-1313. But let's be real here. It's not a veritable cornucopia of sports topics. It is a topic. It is un topic. One. Because this happened today.
I want to talk real quick about the quarterback position. You guys have been real patient. I understand, and respect that process for you. And for us, we've had a process. So, look, Bo Nix is going to be our starting quarterback.
If it feels anticlimactic, I think you're right to feel that way. You knew this was coming. I knew this was coming. You and I had talked about how this was coming pretty much since the Broncos drafted Bo Nix. This should not be a surprise. Even the timing of it is not a surprise. But it feels different, doesn't it? To actually hear Sean Payton say that Bo Nix is going to be a starter week one. Jay Cutler was not the week one starter, despite being a first-round pick. Brock Osweiler obviously wasn't a week one starter when he was a rookie, nor was Drew Lock or Paxton Lynch. This is an announcement before the season that a rookie quarterback will take the helm of the Denver Broncos for their season opener for the first time since John Elway. And you needed him to say those words, to fully bring closure, whatever you were looking for, into this. You wanted to hear Sean Payton say those words. And you could take out all the, well, maybe this. Now there's no doubt. Bo Nix will start week one for the Denver Broncos. And moving forward, all the discussion will be about what the Denver Broncos can do with Bo Nix for 17 games. Because there is no going back. There is no retreat. To retreat is admitting defeat when it comes to benching Bo Nix. And it's part of the reason why Sean Payton was a bit deliberate in all of this. Maybe more deliberate than you thought he needed to be. Because he understands. Now, he was asked about it today. The idea of, is he going to be the starter for the entire season? Not just week one. Here's what he had to say.
There's no tour exemptions for 17 weeks. Like Castle Pines right now. These guys, they're earning each week and playing well each week. And it's not just the quarterback position, but you don't get a season exemption. You got to play.
And I hear him and I understand him, but he knows. Go ahead. Name me the ultra successful quarterback who started as a rookie, was benched, and then made a triumphant return to the lineup to lead his team to the Super Bowl? Go ahead, name him. There isn't one. Because while Bo Nix may be more polished than your average rookie quarterback, he still inherently is a rookie quarterback. Not even inherently. That's what he is. He is a young player in the National Football League. And while he hides it behind a calm demeanor, and I'm not saying he's stricken with fear, but we had the comments from Tua the other day. Tua had an amazing college career. And Brian Flores shook him to his core when it came to his confidence. Tua is not unique. Bo Nix is not unique in that regard. Sean Payton knew very well that once he named Bo Nix the starter, there was no going back. And that's part of what, if you're a Broncos fan, makes today an exciting day. It should be an exciting day. Sean Payton has seen a lot of quarterbacks. He's been around the block. He knows that even somebody with the experience of Bo Nix will be crushed if he ends up getting benched. Sean Payton took his time, made the decision without a moment to spare, knowing full well that this is it. Bo Nix is his quarterback. He is tying himself, his second act as a head coach, his Hall of Fame candidacy is all on the shoulders of Bo Nix. So even though at times it was probably a little bit maddening that you're not just getting him to say those words, knowing full well he was never going to go in a different direction, understand the stakes here. Not just this Broncos season, Broncos history, not just this season for Sean Payton, his entire second act of his coaching career is now tied to the success of Bo Nix. And he had to be sure. Can I win with this guy right now? And he believes he can. Or at the very least, he believes Bo Nix gives him the best chance to win out of these three quarterbacks. So knowing what's at stake, knowing that being a rookie starter in week one means something. For any NFL team, it would mean something. But for the Broncos, the fact that number 7 gets brought up, Broncos history has changed over the last few years. Everything is after Peyton now. No, not this. Bo Nix is the first rookie quarterback of the Denver Broncos to start week 1 since John Elway. That means something. It means something to you. And Sean Payton knows it. And yet he makes this decision. It feels different than previous rookie quarterbacks. Certainly, Drew Lock and Bo Nix, the last before Bo Nix. Different situation. Drew Lock was a second-round pick. The Broncos hedged their bets that year with Drew Lock. If they believed that Drew Lock truly, without question, could be their guy, they would have taken him in the first round. Like Sean Payton did with Bo Nix, despite some belief that Bo Nix wasn't worthy of the 12th pick. Sean Payton said, I don't care. I believe he's my guy. I'm going to make sure that if nothing else in this draft, I get him. Broncos didn't do that with Drew Lock. They hedged their bets. Brock Osweiler, same way. Paxton Lynch would be the closest thing, and I don't even think it's that similar. The major difference between Bo Nix and Paxton Lynch is what you see with your own two eyes. You didn't see Paxton Lynch play at Memphis. Don't lie. And in the preseason, you didn't see what Bo Nix put on film for 2 weeks. Both Paxton Lynch and Bo Nix were drafted for the job. They were chosen for this job. The starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos. And the team spent a first-round pick on both of them. But what you have gotten with Bo Nix over the last 2 weeks, as opposed to what you got from Paxton Lynch, was what you could see with your eyes. You probably watched Bo Nix in college at least more than you watched Paxton Lynch. But you've seen through 2 preseason weeks, this guy looks as ready as he could possibly be. Arguably the best looking rookie quarterback in these 2 weeks has been Bo Nix. So unlike the last first round quarterback that was asked to be the starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos, you believe you can trust what you see with your eyes. And ultimately, all of this circles back to Sean Payton. You know, Gary Kubiak was around when they drafted Paxton Lynch, and certainly Gary Kubiak is well respected, and deservedly so. You don't trust Gary Kubiak like you trust Sean Payton. The NFL world doesn't trust Gary Kubiak like they trust Sean Payton. So it's what you see with your own eyes when it comes to Bo Nix that makes you believe that today's announcement is the start of something really good, if not great, in Denver. And that's what we will debate for many weeks to come. What it's going to look like. What it's going to end up being. But this announcement hits different because of the timing. For week 1, right out of the gate. But it's what you have seen with your own 2 eyes. And maybe more importantly, what Sean Payton has seen with his 2 eyes. And that was enough to pin his chances of getting enshrined into Canton to Bo Nix's number 10 jersey. 719-247-1313. I want your thoughts. I'll take your texts, but today feels like one of those days that Sports Talk Radio was invented for. And back in the day when it was invented, there was not text messaging. I would love to, if you could do it safely, if you feel comfortable. I want to hear from you. I want to talk to you. I want to hear if you're excited. I want to hear if you're worried. I want to hear whatever it is that you're feeling today. I want to hear it. But if you text in, I will read it, as I always do. 719-247-1313. Coming up next, speaking of what Sean Payton has seen with his eyes, that's exactly what Sean Payton's going to tell you coming up next on Extra Sports 1300. The Colorado State Fair and Rodeo begins on Friday, August 23rd. It runs all the way through September 2nd with everything you come to know and love about the Colorado State Fair and a few new wrinkles as well. Free attractions, free entertainment, plus the ever popular Carnival and a great concert lineup featuring the Spinners and the Commodores, Ludacris, Trace Atkins, the Goo Goo Dolls, and more. It's fun for the whole family in Pueblo, August 23rd through September 2nd. Plan your visit at Colorado State Fair.com. Bo Nix officially named the Broncos starter for week 1. I want your thoughts. 719-247-1313. We go to the phone line for Peter, who wants to give his thoughts on Bo being the starter. Peter, great to have you. Fire away.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Appreciate you having me on. I just want to say, first of all, I can't speak for anybody else, but I've never bought into the hype with Drew Lock and Paxton Lynch. I'm just going to be honest with you now. Like you stated, they weren't as high of a first round draft pick. So, even though that was the case, of course, ownership and management, however you want to term it, they want to spin, the player, the future, quote unquote, even though, I knew from the very beginning that even from, just maybe watching a game here or there of either one of them, that, they were going to be, and I hate to say this because, hey, they're in the NFL, so they have nothing to be ashamed of, but mediocre at best. And that's just, that's from the eye test.
Mm-hmm.
So moving forward to Bo Nix, I will say this, I'm really, really excited, and I'm buying into the hype. I think he's going to be a solid player right out of the gate. The extra years in college, people make fun of him about it, like, an 8th-year senior, blah, blah, blah. But I think that's really going to pay off for him, and I think that's going to benefit our organization because I've noticed one thing about him, Ryan, is that he has a sense of calmness to him, and also coming in as, I understand he's 24, but still he has leadership values, and I think he could really galvanize this team. And, maybe not year one, maybe the expectation should be tempered a little bit until, getting to the flow of the NFL game and the speed. But I personally believe, I think we got a great quarterback. I think Sean Payton made a great pick. And if we can, surround him with decent talent, I think we can make the playoffs as early as next year. And that's the way I see it. I would love it for it to be this year, but I say definitely next year. So I just wanted to chime in and, say, I think you do a great job, Ryan, here in Colorado Springs. And I just want to say I enjoy listening to you every day when you're on, and I appreciate all your effort.
Well, I appreciate you calling in, Peter. Let me ask you, if you don't mind me keeping you for an additional moment.
Yeah.
So you say hopefully the playoffs next year. And look, this is the calculation from Sean Payton, right? That they eat Russell Wilson's contract now, and then they're going to have money to spend moving forward. So I think Sean Payton will tell you they're trying to win games, and I wouldn't expect anything less from him. So the second year and beyond, setting that aside, what would the Broncos season look like that would make you at the end of 17 weeks go, yep, we're still on track. We're still what I thought was going to happen. Like, what if you're not expecting the playoffs this year? And I think you're right not to expect it. But what does that look like to you? Is it a record? Is it, just Bo Nix's performance? What does a good first year with Bo Nix as the starter look like to you, Peter?
So a good first year this year is, number one, making his presence felt amongst the team as a leader. Also, with that comes the team becoming galvanized and becoming a singular unit. Honestly, it really depends on how everybody meshes, number one. But, for me personally, I think year one, even him being a rookie and, having, quite a few new guys, and we lost quite a few guys, I still say, I say 9-8, I say 10-7 is a real possibility, even in year one, barring any, foreseeable injuries, of course, to key positions within our organization. But I mean, honestly, I see 9-8 at least, if not 10-7 this year. Okay, so you're 2 games against Kansas City. So, those are going to be battles. And, our track record with Kansas City over the last, 8-9 years. So, okay, you want to chalk up those as being 2 losses. But the Raiders, those are easily 2 winnable games. The Chargers, well, we don't know what they're going to be like. So those could possibly be 2 games. There's 4 wins already. And then our non-conference schedule this year isn't that daunting. That's just my opinion. And I just really think that, 500 plus is a definite possibility. And then as far as, going back to what you originated with, as far as, us eating Russell's contract this year, then having a lot of cap space open up next year, I think that's going to fall in line good, because that's going to give other players that will be, whether they're free agents, whether, they're maybe if we go after them for a trade, and, an asset, with us having a year to have Bo galvanize himself as the leader and bring this team into a cohesive unit, that'll want to bring guys here because they'll say, hey, they got a young up and start quarterback, they got a good core, and they got a good team already. I want to go there. So, I think the position that we're in, even though, nobody wants to eat the money that we're eating for Russell with the return that we got, but it is what it is. So I just think that things may fall and align perfectly for us. And then as far as record next year, I have no issue seeing 12-5, 11-6, and definitely, even if we can't win the division, I say, at least definitely a wild card, and one of the top wild cards.
Awesome. Appreciate you calling in, Peter. Please call in more often. Love talking to you guys on the phone when it comes, especially days like today. Right. So great call, Peter. But you can hear the optimism. And that's what I expect to hear today. We have a poll question on X at Extra Sports 1300. Did the Broncos make the right call naming Bo Nix the starter week 1? Yes, he's ready. No, he needs more time. Head over to our X page in order to do it. And if you're watching the show on X already, then it won't be a long trip for you to get there. We'll see if the plan works out. But to Peter's point, Sean Payton had a plan. This is his plan. And it was abundantly clear from the get-go. Get rid of Russell Wilson. Take a step back for a year, reset, make some other decisions on key personnel, which he has. Get a quarterback. He stated that it was his goal to address the quarterback position, and the draft was one of those ways. He tried to play coy and could be anywhere in the draft. It was going to be early because he knows how you build teams. You got to start with the quarterback. Aaron called me up during the break and talked about why he loves this is that it feels like the Broncos are starting from the right place. Right? They got a quarterback they believe in. Right? And now they can build from there rather than what they have done for years, which is, just best player available. We'll stick him here. We'll stick this guy here. We'll just make the greatest roster devoid of a quarterback in the history of the NFL. And then one will just fall into our lap. No, don't work that way. Now they have an actual starting point that I think you as a Broncos fan can get behind. You could see the vision, but the plan was draft a quarterback, eat Russell Wilson's contract, put all the dead cap money that you can into 1 year that way you can go out and you could be active in free agency. And now the Broncos' runway to spend in free agency, as long as they don't go Brewster's millions in one offseason, is they can have money for a couple of years. Think about how young this roster is, right? The other moves that were made, Justin Simmons getting released. That would be a guy that in football terms, an advanced age would need a fairly large salary. You look at this roster right now, the only guy that you can see, or I should say two, within the next couple of years that you're Broncos probably got to pay him, Pat Surtain and Garrett Bowles. And they're under they don't have to sign either one of them. But there are only two guys that you look at on this roster and you say, Well, if the Broncos want to keep him, they're going to have to pay up. Cortland Sutton doesn't fit that. Javonte Williams doesn't fit that. This is a young football team. They're going to be able to spend money over the course of the next couple of years. And that was Sean Payton's plan from the outset. It's always what he was going to do. It was just a matter of whether the quarterback he liked would be there when the Broncos were ready to take one. And now it's, does Bo continue? Because while I don't agree necessarily with what Sean Payton's trying to say, that at any point Bo Nix can lose his job, like I get that in theory, but once you bench this guy, you may not get him back. We had this conversation when it came to Drew Lock, right? Once Vic Fangio crossed that threshold and said Teddy Bridgewater is the quarterback, that was it for Drew Lock. It was done. And it's not, it would apply to Brock Purdy if the 49ers just decided to bench him. Brock Purdy would be done. Young quarterbacks are a bit fragile. Maybe you've gone through it in your life, right? I know I did in my career. You just start your career, and then maybe for whatever reason, job performance, corporate cutbacks, budget cuts, whatever it might be, if you lose a job in your chosen career field shortly after you enter that career field, it's going to be tough for you. It's going to be tough to bounce back. So, yeah, Bo Nix can be benched at any point. And it's still a possibility that Bo Nix is an epic failure this year. I would say there's very little chance of that happening, but let's just lay out all the potential scenarios. That's one of them. Right? So it might not work out, but this is the first step to Sean Payton's plan, right? You got to start with the quarterback. See what you have and whether that's worth investing in, or worst case scenario, Bo Nix flops. You have a very high draft pick and you're watching a lot of Georgia and Colorado and Texas film. I don't think this is going to be worst case scenario season for Bo Nix. I do think he's going to give you enough to where, okay, spend, invest in another year. But this was Sean Payton's plan all along. But we just haven't figured out if it's going to work yet. But the thought process is sound. 719-247-1313. Continue to take your thoughts, preferably by phone, but text is acceptable as well. Coming up next, Sean Payton on what separated Bo Nix to name him the starter for Week 1 against Seattle. Celebrate Cyan Night with your Colorado Springs Switchbacks this Saturday, August 24th. Be at Widener Field starting at 6 as the first 2,000 fans will get a special edition Switchbacks clear bag provided by Widener Apartment Homes. And then after your Switchbacks take on I-25 rivals New Mexico United, stick around after the match for an experience of an awesome fireworks display. Get your tickets for this or any one of the remaining Switchbacks matches in 2024 by logging on to switchbacksfc.com. Sean Payton has seen what he needed to see in order to name Bo Nix the Broncos starting quarterback for week 1 against Seattle. What is it exactly that Sean Payton saw? Here's what he said today.
I would say, a lot of the off-schedule movement throws, and I think he's been consistent. And it's not really a reflection on Jared or even Zach. It's some of the things that he's been able to do pretty quickly.
And I said that yesterday, take out where Bo Nix was drafted and all that comes along with him being a rookie quarterback. Just look at these two games. If you took the names off of the back of the jersey and you didn't know anything, those old Pepsi versus Coke taste tests, just look at these three quarterbacks. Which one would you choose? You would choose Bo Nix. You would. He's looked the best. And that's what Sean Payton was hoping for. Because, yes, he picked him for this. He picked him with every intention of making him the starter week 1. But he wanted to see Bo Nix earn the job. Even if on a super secretive basis, he was going to get the gig anyway. Right? If Jared Stidham was a little bit better, I think Bo Nix was still started. But this is the perfect scenario that has played out through the course of 2 preseason games and training camp. Is that Bo Nix looks the best of the 3 quarterbacks. And it's not just for Sean Payton's taste. It's not just for yours. But it's also about the other 50, soon to be 52 guys in that locker room, which Sean Payton talked about.
Everything in this league is earned. And the minute there's someone that has something that's not earned, that can affect and impact your locker room. It really can. And so I've told the story with you guys about other positions, guys that were drafted, that were released, and free agents that made it. These guys see it. And there's now we're rooting for all of them. We really are. Why wouldn't we? We want to see all these young players have success. And yet there's still that element of show and earn and demonstrate. And so you guys obviously have spent a lot of time not just talking directly with the quarterbacks, but there's a confidence level.
And you do hear it. You hear it from the guys that catch passes, from Bo Nix that have spent time with many other quarterbacks. It's now 9 different quarterbacks that have been starters since Cortland Sutton became a Denver Bronco. Sean Payton wanted to make sure, and I'm sure he's impressed it upon Bo Nix in his meetings with him. You've got to win over the guys you're going to be playing with. And they're seeing the exact same thing that you and I are seeing, and maybe then some. I think it was Mike McGlinchey who said he's got a unique blend of confidence, but he's also humble. And that's the tightrope that you have to walk if you're a quarterback. Tom Brady made it an art form. Right? Guys will tell you that no matter how big Tom Brady got, no matter how many Super Bowls he won, no matter how many supermodels he was married to, he was just Tom with them. He never big leagued them. Now, Jimmy Garoppolo would have a very different account of his interactions with Tom Brady, but the guys that played with Tom Brady will tell you that he was just one of the guys, despite being a massive star in the league and well on his way to becoming the greatest of all time. Some of that is what Bo Nix has had to show. I'm sure Bo Nix, and you'll hear from him after the top of the hour, I'm sure he thought he could win this job. And I'm sure he thought as things went along, he became more emboldened in that. But he couldn't act like he had earned anything. He couldn't act like he was anything more. Everyone made a big deal that, who was it? Jared Stidham made him carry his pads the other day. Did some people call that hazing? It's silly. That's not hazing. Like, Bo Nix had to be a rookie, but also had to be a rookie that guys would look at and say, he can win us games. You can't be so meek. You can't be so feeble, so deferential to veterans on the team that they look at you as lesser. And Bo Nix was able to do that. And the most important thing, again, his play. On the field, it's showing that you can win with him. Off the field, it's showing that this guy, he doesn't think he's arrived. He doesn't think he's God's gift to the Denver Broncos or anything like that. And he did a good job of that. And you've heard numerous players sing his praises. And almost to normalize it. Like, we have gotten to the point, 2 preseason games. That's it. We haven't even been through preseason yet. And I hear a phrase like, that's Bo. That's Bo. Like, they know him well enough to know that when he does something good, that's who he is. And right now, it's only about believing that he's that guy. You can't prove Sunday against Arizona or in practice or in these other preseason games that he unequivocally is that guy, but he has made them believe that doing well is just something that he does. It's what they expect. And that's how he earned the job with the 52, or soon to be 52 other guys in that locker room. Now, with Tom Brady's comments the other day, Sean Payne was asked a question about starting Bo Nix year 1 instead of year 2, because Tom Brady talked about how awful it was that these rookies are thrust into duty right away as rookies. Here's Sean Payton giving me some vindication based on my reaction to Tom Brady's comments.
Oftentimes, historically speaking, those teams at the real front end of the draft are the teams that have been struggling. And so sometimes the fit is tough when one of these players ends up at a team that maybe hasn't had success. And then, we've seen a guy like Roethlisberger maybe pick just a little later, but to a team that's had success, or a guy like Aaron Rodgers go back a little bit, but then, and even with Patrick in our division, he goes to a place where there's a starter. So each example is different.
And that's what I was trying to say yesterday when it came to Tom Brady's comments. Like, it's all anecdotal. What worked for him does not mean that is the body. Like, a great example of this is everyone says you got to win when you have a quarterback on a rookie deal. Once you pay your quarterback, that's it. Give me the examples. Right? Give me the examples. Patrick Mahomes has been paid for going on 4 years now. And the Chiefs have multiple Super Bowls. Matthew Stafford was not on a rookie deal. He won a Super Bowl. Tom Brady was not on a rookie deal. He won a Super Bowl. So you have to point out to me the number of examples. I understand the theory behind it. Right? You have a quarterback on his rookie deal. That's the position that gets more expensive than any other. So if you could save money there and win, that's the dream. But that's kind of all it's been proven to be, is a dream. I'm just thinking of more Super Bowl champions. I'm like, Kurt Warner, I guess he was on a rookie deal, although his situation was a little bit weird. He wasn't drafted out of college. Eagles won. When I took the boys to Philadelphia, we saw the Philly statue. Nick Foles wasn't on a rookie deal. So I get why. It's like with Brady. Like, I understand in an ideal world, everybody would be the Green Bay Packers. But even then, is it that the Packers' way of doing things works? Is the right way to do things? Or did maybe a quarterback that many people thought was a bona fide franchise quarterback fall into their laps with Aaron Rodgers? And because they had Favre, they had no reason to shove Aaron Rodgers out there. Now, Jordan Love certainly gives more clout to the idea that the Packers do things the right way. But there are numerous examples of quarterbacks who played right away year one and failed. And there are other examples of quarterbacks who played year one and succeeded. There are quarterbacks that waited to start that succeeded. And there are quarterbacks, it's all anecdotal. It's all based on the environment that they find themselves in. And that's what Sean Payton is talking about. He believes that Bo Nix as a quarterback, first of all, right? That's the other part of it. God talk about the player himself. That Bo Nix is a quarterback that has the potential to be successful year one. And secondly, he believes that the support system, the environment he is being put into, is conducive to success in year one. And to me, that might be the better question at this point. And I want to get into that. I will next hour. I want you to hear from Bo Nix, and our time is limited in this segment. Maybe the question we should be asking from now until the start of the season, not is Bo Nix ready, are the Broncos ready? So much of the conversation regarding young quarterbacks has been the failures of the organization around them. To this point, it's been about Bo Nix. Does he show that he is ready to start right away? Well, he did. Sean Payton said today he's ready to go. Are the Broncos ready to support this guy and to make sure that Bo Nix is a successful quarterback? Because they have almost as much to say about that as Bo Nix himself does. I think that's actually the better question moving forward. And I will get into that coming up next hour. You also hear from Bo Nix. 719-247-1313. Continue to take your thoughts. Bo Nix named the starter week 1 against the Seattle Seahawks. In the meantime, want to ask you, have you often been feeling tired? How about you lacking motivation and drive? You noticing that? Maybe you've gained some weight. Welcome in, Drive Time Sports. Ryan Kaufman with you. A reminder, you can watch the show live on a daily basis if you follow us on any one of the popular social media platforms. Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube. The handle is all the same, at XTRA Sports 1300. And tomorrow, I hope that you're able to do that while I am in Vegas, as tomorrow I will be doing the show. Actually, Thursday and Friday, I will be doing the show at Circa Resort. Going to be the start of a beautiful partnership between myself, this show, and that fine purveyor of sports gambling. So I'll be out there tomorrow and Friday, and the plan is to live stream the show. And the folks at Circa have been terrific and I haven't even gotten to shake their hand yet. It's all been over Zoom and phone. But they've been great, and very much looking forward to it over the next couple of days. So, yeah, it should be you'll certainly be able to hear me tomorrow and Friday from Vegas, and it is my intention to allow you to see me if that's how you consume the show on a daily basis. 719-247-1313 is the number. Bo Nix officially named the Broncos QB1 for their opening weekend game against the Seattle Seahawks. Gave you a lot of Sean Payton in hour one, and I will continue to give you more Sean Payton. But how about hearing from the man himself? Here's Bo Nix on his reaction to being named the Broncos starting quarterback.
It was really cool. It's not every day to get that news, but obviously, as a room, we've been working hard, and putting a lot of good things on film, putting a lot of good things, on the practice field. And so to get that news is definitely a great thing. And so I'm super excited and, ready to get back to work again and go back to it and start again.
He says it's not every day that you hear that news, but for Bo Nix, it's been well chronicled that everywhere he goes, he gets this news, right? He's been a starting quarterback since 8th grade. Everywhere he's been. But obviously, this particular instance, probably a little bit more exciting. Not that wasn't exciting to be named the starting quarterback of the Ducks or the Tigers or whatever his high school team was called. But even there, Bo Nix being very Bo Nix-like. On to the next thing. Sean Payton was asked about what separated Bo Nix, and he talked about the off-schedule stuff that Bo Nix showed. Right? Even though it was called back because he crossed the line of scrimmage, Sean Payton was very complimentary of that play in particular, the touchdown pass to Jaleel McLaughlin. But we've seen Bo Nix move, buy himself some time, and still make plays. And there is only a very small group of quarterbacks that can just straight up run the football. Right? One's in Buffalo, one's in Baltimore, one's in Kansas City, one's in Philadelphia. Pretty much everyone else, the best you can hope for is just buy time till you throw the football. And if you can do that, because there is a group within that group that can't keep plays alive, that can't buy time, that can't make some of the plays that Bo Nix was able to make over these two preseason games. If you get a Lamar Jackson, if you get a Josh Allen, a Patrick Mahomes, then awesome. But they don't come around very often. So if you can get a quarterback that has some mobility to be able to keep plays alive, that's just one more box that a quarterback can check that not every quarterback can. So that's what impressed Sean Payton. That's what separated Bo Nix ultimately. And then the fact that he did it again, right? Do the things that you do well multiple times. But so much of the talk during training camp and during the preseason has been don't repeat the same mistakes. Do what you do well multiple times. Don't do the things you don't do well multiple times, essentially. Bo Nix was asked, at what point did he feel comfortable? Maybe even what point did he feel like he had this, that he felt like he was going to be named the starter?
I don't think as a quarterback you ever feel, ultimately extremely comfortable, because there's always a defense that you're having to go against, always certain things that you see or learn on a daily basis. But, the past few weeks I felt really comfortable, and getting to a different defense, playing these preseason games have really helped me a lot. And I think that's helped in the growth process. But feel really comfortable where I'm at now, and excited to get to the last week of preseason and then get to the full season.
Speaking of, just as an aside, that last preseason, Sean Payton was very intentional today to not double up the headline news. He named Bo Nix the starter, but did not say whether Bo Nix would play against the Arizona Cardinals. And then he would not talk about any other positions. Not ready to do any of that. I don't know what else Bo Nix can do. Like, I understand the idea of, hey, he's a young quarterback, all the reps can help. But this is where we can't just swing from one end to another of the preseason spectrum. Right? Because while maybe it's a breath of fresh air for Broncos fans that Sean Payton cares about the preseason and wants to play his players, that certainly makes it more worthwhile to go to Empower Field this past Sunday. But the reason why Sean McVay and Kevin O'Connell and a lot of these other coaches don't play their players, Matt LaFleur, great example, that exists for everyone. Sean Payton has not insulated his team from risk of injury, and that's why he plays them. He understands the risk of injury and is okay with that because the benefits outweigh that risk. And with Bo Nix, absolutely, that's the right determination. For 2 weeks. Bo Nix is still a rookie. I get that. But now he's your starter. He's who you have pinned the hopes and dreams of this season and many seasons to come on. I don't know that there's any reason to trot him out against Arizona. It's time to kind of take the other part of that middle ground and say, he's our starter now. We don't need to play him. And from a practical standpoint, I question how quality the reps will be. Because reps, right? Not every rep is made equal. Bo Nix has gone up against preseason defenses and all that entails. The level of personnel, the type of defense, the blitzes or lack thereof. Like, he's gone up against 2 NFL preseason defenses and has looked great. What is Arizona going to present to make you feel like these are also quality? These are higher quality reps. They're just more of the same reps. And taking into account the risk of all of these vibes going away at the snap of a finger, to me, there just isn't a reason. You named him the starter. He's proven all he can prove against preseason defenses. The next step is a regular season defense. Let's get there with Bo Nix. And that frees up Sean Payton to prop up Zach Wilson as much as he would like to. He could play him the whole game and try to get somebody to trade for him. Because we know that's part of what Sean Payton wants to do on Sunday. Now you don't even have to worry about Bo Nix. Just put him to the side. And it could be Stidham and it could be Zach Wilson and whatever goals you want to achieve with those two quarterbacks. I don't see the reason for him to play, Bo Nix to play on Sunday. I really don't. The next time I think we should see Bo Nix is in Seattle. And if that is the case, then the Green Bay film is the last film that Bo Nix will see before he takes the field in a regular season game. Here's Bo Nix on what the Green Bay film showed him.
You know, some mannerisms, some things that I could give away, some cadence stuff, I completely botched one play that needed to fix, and we fixed that a lot today over the last few days. Had a whole drill that Davis set up just because of the play I messed up. But that's good because that means you won't mess it up again. And that's one that every time it's called from here on out, I always think about that one time I messed it up.
So some acknowledgement that as well as he has played, there were moments that he felt like he screwed up. But that first part, when I heard him say that, it's like finishing school. Isn't that what finishing school is? Or maybe I'm just thinking of where you go and get taught manners and stuff. Isn't that finishing school? Like, I feel like that's where Bo Nix is. Mannerisms, cadence, things like that. Those are the final touches to a quarterback, right? That's not the meat and potatoes of what quarterbacks need to figure out. If Bo Nix is looking at his film and everything that he says is either agreed with by Sean Payton or it's coming from Sean Payton himself, if they're sitting there looking at film and breaking down his hard count or his mannerisms, those are final touches you add to a quarterback. But that tracks, that fits in with what you've seen. He says he completely messed up a play. We don't know because the result wasn't messed up. Right? We don't know what was called in the huddle. So Bo Nix did something against Green Bay that screwed up a play. But for those of us who are just watching the game, I didn't see it. The only incompletion that he threw, the only zero or negative play he had was the touchdown pass to Jaleel McLaughlin that was called back. That wasn't the botched play. Sean Payton praised Bo Nix for that. So I don't know where that play was. So some acknowledgement that he still has some of that, but these other things like that, those are the cherry on the sundae. Those are the final touches. But the meat and potatoes of what you needed to see from Bo Nix to believe he was ready to start week 1, you saw. And the Broncos saw it. 719-247-1313. Take your thoughts on Bo Nix being named the starter. I threw out this question earlier. I want to get into it because I think it is maybe a better question moving forward. Sean Payton confirmed today that Bo Nix is ready to be the starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos. Are the Denver Broncos ready for Bo Nix to be their starter? I'll explain next on Extra Sports 1300. Join us, won't you, in Pueblo for the Colorado State Fair and Rodeo, August 23rd through September 2nd. free attractions, a carnival, concerts, Ludacris, Trace Atkins, Goo Goo Dolls, many more. It's fun for the whole family. And I want to make sure that you get to experience this, whether you're a newcomer or you've been going to the Colorado State Fair for many a year. I have a pair of gate admissions to get you into the fair. I also have a pair of carnival passes that you can utilize as well on your trip. If you would like them, be the 13th texter to text FAIR, F-A-I-R, plus your name, so I know who you are. And I don't have to ask you a bunch of questions. Okay, you won. What's your name? What's your last name? Lay it out for me. Make my job. I'm giving you tickets to the fair and carnival passes. You can meet me halfway. Fair and your name to 719-247-1313. The 13th texter to do that will get said prizes. We have undergone, as a football public, a sort of epiphany, a sort of awakening. Because for many years, the word bust was only given to the player. Ryan Leaf was a bust. Jamarcus Russell was a bust. Cade McNown was a bust. Todd Marinovich was a bust. There was very little discussion about what the organization did to either help or hurt a rookie quarterback or any rookies' chances of succeeding. And perhaps it's because of more information. We have things like Hard Knocks, we have social media, we have a whole cottage industry of insiders that their only job is to tell you what's going on behind closed doors. We're going out to more practices, right? We're paying attention, fantasy football, sports betting. So our antenna collectively are up more, and we're more mindful of what an organization is doing. And in the last few years, maybe it's 5, maybe it's 10, we've started to give equal blame between the player and the organization. Did Justin Fields fail the Bears, or did the Bears fail him? I think there's enough blame to go around. Did Bryce Young fail the Panthers? Or is it the other way around? So we loop in the coaches, the weapons that they have at their disposal, the offensive line. We bring more into it when we assess whether any rookie, but especially quarterbacks, succeed or fail. So to me, now that Bo Nix has shown what he's shown, which is he's absolutely capable and ready to be the Broncos starter week 1, I think the better question is, are the Broncos ready for him? Right? Not that I want to play revisionist history and say there is a world in which Drew Lock becomes the Broncos' next great franchise quarterback, because I never believed he would be. I never believed he was capable of it. But you can look at how the Broncos handled him and say maybe they didn't do everything they could to make 100% sure he wasn't that guy. Changing offensive coordinators after year 1. Having a head coach on the hot seat in Vic Fangio, who of course was going to bench him in favor of the veteran because his job was on the line. Are the Broncos more capable? I think let's just talk about Sean Payton. Okay, Sean Payton has shown that he can take lemons and make lemonade. Now, maybe it's, I don't know what your favorite lemonade is, but think about what your favorite lemonade is. Maybe it's a Mike's. Maybe that's the best lemonade possible. I wouldn't say that Jameis Winston in New Orleans or Russell Wilson in Denver was a Mike's Hard Lemonade. Wasn't the best lemonade. Maybe it was like Crystal Light or something like that, where you're like, it's lemonade, but it's not the best lemonade. That's what Sean Payton has shown. With Drew Brees, I don't even think he had a lemon to begin with. They believed he had a lemon because of the injury, but the talent was there. He started to show that in San Diego. But towards the end of Sean Payton's tenure in New Orleans, he didn't have Drew Brees. And you looked at Jameis Winston and you went, okay. You looked at Taysom Hill and you're like, all right. You looked at Russell Wilson last year and you went, you can get by making lemonade out of lemons. So there's a little belief that Sean Payton can get the most out of Bo Nix, whatever that might be, because he's done it with these other quarterbacks. There's no doubt he maximized what Drew Brees was. He maximized whatever little was there for him to work with Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson. So there's confidence that he has a coach that can get the most out of him. And this is going to be a coach that's as impatient as Sean Payton is. I do think that he's committing to Bo Nix for this season. I don't think there's any like Halloween meeting like he had George Payton have with Russell Wilson. I think he's going to see this thing through to the end of the season. He's going to continue to say the right things like there's no tour exemption cards. But I think he's committed to Bo for this season. If Bo is awful and the Broncos are awful and they're in a position to get Beck or Ewers or Sanders and Sean Payton loves one of those guys, I don't think he will hesitate to move on from Bo Nix because he has to make his second act in the NFL work, or he may not end up in the Hall of Fame. But for this season, I think he's committed to Bo. He's not going into it like he went into last year with Russell Wilson, where he got on the highway with him, but he was looking for every off-ramp possible. Can I take this exit? No. Can I take this exit? No. I can take this exit, though. And I don't think Sean Payton is even thinking about, what if I like Carson Beck more? I don't think that's where his thought process is. So he has a capable coach who believes in him, right? He didn't inherit him. Somebody else didn't choose him. He chose Bo Nix. So those are a couple of boxes that you check and say that makes it more conducive to a young quarterback having success. How about the team? How about the team? Because the scenario that I have spun, and it's is not me saying that Bo Nix will be Daniel Jones and the Broncos will be the New York Giants. I'm just looking in a vacuum at this one season. And I think about Daniel Jones's first year. The numbers will tell you it was a successful rookie year. The wins and losses, no. They were not a good football team, but Daniel Jones had good numbers. I could see that being a potential scenario for the Denver Broncos because this roster isn't that good. And Sean Payton gave up some players that were in the mix of being better at their position than the guys who have taken over for them. So given everything I've seen from Bo Nix, I have zero doubt that he's ready to play in the NFL. I have no doubt that Sean Payton's ready to coach him up. I don't know if this team is good enough around him to lead to, if wins are an important measuring stick for a successful first year of Bo Nix. I don't know that. But that's the better question moving forward. Are the Broncos good enough? Bo Nix has shown with the 3 guys on the roster, he's the best one. Are the other 52 guys good enough to make this a successful first season in terms of wins and losses for Bo Nix? Here's Sean Payton on whether the Broncos around Bo Nix are ready to support their young quarterback.
That's not just for a rookie. That's for Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and, any of our great quarterbacks. They themselves would say, man, if we're struggling on defense and we're having trouble running the ball, it becomes harder to play that position the way you want to play it. So that's what we're in the midst of doing right now. We're still trying to get the consistency we want in the run game. And, we've got another weekend relative to a preseason game and practices to work on that the same way defensively. I think we've played the run pretty well, but it's like work in progress.
That may not engender a ton of confidence. That last line there about it being a work in progress. I actually think the part that he points out, I actually feel quite good about the running game of the Denver Broncos. That combines 2 of my favorite things on the Denver Broncos: their running back room and their offensive line. But you have a team that historically has struggled to force turnovers, and they just cut their best turnover creator. This pass rush group doesn't have a Von Miller, a Bradley Chubb, a DeMarcus Ware, a guy that you can trust when you need him to, that he can generate pressure on a quarterback. And I don't know how trustworthy the weapons that Bo Nix has to throw to are. I just flat out don't like the Broncos tight end room. I think if Adam Troutman is their starting tight end, then that is an indictment of Lucas Kroll and Greg Dulcich. Marvin Mims, we hardly got to see any of them, not because Sean Payton screwed up. That's false modesty or self-deprecation. Marvin Mims wasn't on the field last year because Sean Payton didn't think that he could contribute. Tim Patrick, as good of a story as he has been in the preseason, he's still coming off of multiple ACL tears. Cortland Sutton has been wildly inconsistent. Now, can Bo Nix help some of that? Can Bo Nix make some of these guys look better? Absolutely. That's part of the gig. But given what I have seen in years past and in this preseason, I think it's more fair at this juncture to question the team around Bo Nix than Bo Nix. Outside of, obviously, Bo Nix is young, Bo Nix needs some time to develop and could make some rookie mistakes. right? The normal stuff that you expect. Caleb Williams is going to go through it. Jaden Daniels is going to go through it. Patrick Mahomes went through it. Like, the normal stuff. Is this team good enough? And my answer to that is no, it's not. And that's why, despite what I have seen from Bo Nix, I still think this is a team that is going to be locked in with the Vegas Raiders for the dubious honor of who finishes last in this division. I can't get past 6 wins for this team. Not assuming everybody's healthy and looking at these teams, I can't get past 6 wins. But I'm not judging this season on wins and losses. That's not what a successful first season with Bo Nix as the starting quarterback is going to look like. I expect them to lose. I don't expect Bo Nix to win a ton of games, because I think that's a part of a quarterback's evolution that doesn't happen in year one. What I'm judging this season on is what players are worth keeping in their spots, including and most notably Bo Nix, and then identifying what the Broncos need to actually have the team to be able to cement themselves as the biggest threat to Patrick Mahomes in the AFC West, to be seriously considered a playoff team. That, to me, is what this season is about. Last season was about, is there anything left with Russell Wilson? The answer was unequivocally no. And what players did Sean Payton feel like he could take with him into years to come and be able to contribute? That part of that process is still going on. There's still guys that, and Cortland Sutton might be a great example, where Sean Payton might be on the fence. Do I want to commit to this guy long-term? Do I not want to? So with the quarterback situation being better than it was a year ago, which it is, Bo Nix better than last year's version of Russell Wilson, I am very confident that it will look better. Then you can judge everyone else and say, okay, do you have to sign Garrett Bowles? Do you have to sign Cortland Sutton? Or can you look elsewhere? Or do you need to look elsewhere? Is Javonte Williams really never going to get back to what he was before the ACL injury? Is Audric Estime not what Sean Payton makes him out to be? And do the Broncos need to use the money that they will have at their disposal to upgrade those particular positions? And as far as success with Bo Nix, look like the guy worth spending $100, $150, $200 million, whatever the Broncos are going to end up having. 200 would be a lot. Bo Nix needs to show that he's worth the investment that the Broncos are getting ready to make in upgrading and making moves that say we're going for it because we believe we're going to be a playoff team this next year. How do you define success in Bo Nix's rookie year, for him or for the team? 719-247-1313. Want to tell you about QC Kinetics, or before I get to QC Kinetics,